There may be no greater miscarriage of justice than to wrongfully convict a person of murder and sentence him to death. But that's exactly what happened to Glenn Ford. He spent nearly 30 years on death row in solitary confinement in Louisiana's notorious Angola prison until new evidence revealed he did not commit the murder. He was one of 149 inmates freed from death row since the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated capital punishment in 1976. In all those exonerations, you have likely never heard a prosecutor admit his role and apologize for his mistakes in sending an innocent man to death row. But tonight, a prosecutor's confession. Marty Stroud speaks of an injustice he calls so great it destroyed two lives, Glenn Ford's and his own.
I ended up, without anybody else's help, putting a man on death row who didn't belong there. I mean, at the end of the day, beginning, end, middle, whatever you want to call it, I did something that was very, very bad.
It was 1983, Shreveport, Louisiana, and 32-year-old prosecutor Marty Stroud was assigned his first death penalty case. A local jeweler, Isidore Roseman, had been robbed and murdered. Quickly, Stroud zeroed in on Glenn Ford. Ford had done yard work for Roseman and was known to be a petty thief. And he admitted he had pawned some of the stolen jewelry. All that was enough to make him the primary suspect. Stroud knew a conviction would boost his career.
I was arrogant, narcissistic, caught up in the culture of winning.
Win regardless of the facts, the truth?
Looking back on it, yes. There was a question about other people's involvement. I should have followed up on that. I didn't do that.
Why didn't you?
I think my failure to say something can only be described as cowardice. I was a coward.
Stroud now admits the cards and the system were stacked against Ford from the beginning. His court-appointed lawyers had never practiced criminal law.
What kind of law did they practice?
One individual had general civil practice and another one did succession, wills, and estates.
Here they were in
a murder trial in Louisiana where a man was on trial for his life. And at the time, I saw nothing wrong with that. In fact, I snickered from time to time saying that, this was going to be, we were going to get through this case pretty quickly.
Stroud's case wasn't strong. There was no physical evidence linking Ford to the crime. The main witness incriminating Ford admitted in court she'd been coerced by police to make up her testimony. But what was more important to Marty Stroud was the composition of the jury.
There were no African Americans on the jury.
Was that by design?
At the time of the case, we excluded African Americans because I felt that they would not consider a death penalty where you had a black defendant and a white victim. I was the person that made the final call on the case with respect to jurors. And I was wrong.
Caddo Parish, Louisiana is predominantly white, yet 77% of those given the death penalty here in the last 40 years have been black.
So when Glenn Ford walks into that courtroom, he's got a count of 0-2 against him, and a fastball's coming right at his head for strike 3.
It took the jury less than 3 hours to find Glenn Ford guilty. Afterwards, Stroud and his legal team went out and celebrated, sending Ford to death row.
I had drinks. I slapped people on the back. We sang songs. That was utterly disgusting. You see Mother Justice sometimes, a statue, and she has a blindfold over her eyes. She was crying that night because that wasn't justice. That wasn't justice at all.
Ford was put in solitary confinement in one of the most infamous lockups in America, Angola. The maximum security prison has a well-earned reputation for harsh penalties and harsher conditions. Summer temperatures on death row commonly exceed 104 degrees.
Death row, you have maybe a 5 by 7 foot cell. You're in there every day. You get out 1 hour a day to walk around, and you come back in. You do that day after day, year after year, and that's it. He was basically thrown into a cell and forgotten.
Ford would become one of the country's longest-serving death row inmates. Stroud went on to a successful legal career. But all that changed when one of the initial suspects, a man named Jake Robinson, told a police informant he had killed the jeweler 3 decades earlier. Robinson is now in prison for another murder. A court review of the new information found there was credible evidence Glenn Ford was neither present at nor a participant in the robbery and murder of Isidore Roseman. Stroud's reaction when he was told Ford was innocent?
I thought I was going to throw up. Nauseous. And I felt my face was just turning like a fever. But then the horror of knowing that yours truly had caused him all this pain.
Last year, Ford was exonerated and released from Angola. Pictures of his first free moments captured a rainbow in the sky and a smile on his face.
What was it like to step outside the walls of that prison?
Like stepping in a brand new world, like breathing fresh air for the first time. I felt good.
But that good feeling didn't last. Shortly after being released, Ford learned he had stage 4 lung cancer. Doctors told him he only had a few months to live. When we met Glenn Ford, he was living in New Orleans in a home for released prisoners.
And that hurts.
Just to swallow water.
Feel like a flame.
You were on death row for 30 years.
Yes.
Did you ever come close to an execution date?
Came within a week because the judge said he was retiring and he wanted to put a death date on me.
Did Mr. Ford get justice in this case?
I think he has gotten delayed justice.
Dale Cox, the acting district attorney of Caddo Parish, got Glenn Ford released after receiving the informant's information. As he sees it, the justice system worked, and no one, including Marty Stroud, did anything wrong.
I don't know what it is he's apologizing for. I think he's wrong in that the system did not fail Mr. Ford.
It did not.
It did not. In fact, the system...
How can you say that?
Because he's not on death row, and that's how I can say it.
Getting out of prison after 30 years is justice?
Well, it's better than dying there, and it's better than being executed.
There may be no more controversial prosecutor in the U.S. than Dale Cox. Between 2010 and 2014, his Caddo Parish office put more people on death row per capita than anywhere else in the country.
I think society should be employing the death penalty more rather than less.
But there have been 10 other inmates on death row in Louisiana who have been exonerated. Clearly, the system is not flawless. Are you sure that you've gotten it right all the time?
I'm reasonably confident that I've gotten it right.
Reasonably confident.
Am I arrogant enough? Am I narcissistic enough to say I couldn't make a mistake? Of course not.
But until this information came out, the state was convinced that Mr. Ford was guilty.
Yes.
He could have been killed.
Yes.
And it would have been a mistake.
Yes.
It sounds like you're saying that's just a risk we have to take.
Yes. If I had gotten this information too late, all of us would have been grieved beyond description. We don't want to do this to people who are not guilty of the crime they're charged with.
According to Louisiana law, Glenn Ford was entitled to $330,000, about $11,000 for every year of wrongful imprisonment. But the state is denying him the money. Why? In the original trial, prosecutors said Ford knew a robbery of Roseman's jewelry shop was going to take place, but he didn't report it. Ford was never charged with that crime, but the state says that's reason enough to deny him.
Do you believe he should be compensated for the time he spent in prison?
No, I think we need to follow the law, and the statute does not require that you be charged or convicted or arrested for any of these other crimes. The statute only requires that Mr. Ford prove he didn't do these other crimes.
So he's guilty until proven innocent in this case?
No, because it's not a question of guilt or innocence. It's a question of whether he's entitled to money, taxpayer money.
But you say he has to prove
Yes.
that he's innocent of these other charges, these other crimes for which he's never been charged, for which he's never been tried.
That's correct.
He has to prove that he's innocent of them in order to get the compensation.
That's correct.
I'm trying to understand. He was punished for something that he might have done. That doesn't seem fair.
You want fairness.
Isn't the law supposed to provide fairness?
It is supposed to provide justice.
You don't think he deserves compensation?
I think that the law must be followed.
What law is this? I had never heard of such law where it says it's okay to do what they did to me without any type of compensation.
There was some compensation. Glenn Ford was given a $20 gift card the day he left Angola prison.
Gave me a card for $20 and said, wish you luck.
How long did that last you?
1 meal. I had some fried chicken, tea, and the French fries came with it. I had $4 and change left.
After 30 years in prison?
Right.
30 years on death row in solitary confinement, and the state of Louisiana releases Mr. Ford with a $20 gift card.
You're trying to portray the state of Louisiana as some kind of monster. I got him out of jail as quickly as I could. That's what the obligation of the state is.
And that's the end of the state's obligation.
As far as I'm concerned.
What about compassion? Have you no compassion for what Mr. Ford has been through?
Well, you don't know me at all, do you? But you have no problem asking that question.
No, I'm asking because I'm seeking an answer.
I'm not in the compassion business. None of us, as prosecutors or defense lawyers, are in the compassion business. I think the ministry is in the compassion business. We're in the legal business. So to suggest that somehow what has happened to Glenn Ford is abhorrent, yes, it's unfair, but it's not illegal, and it's not even immoral. It just doesn't fit your perception of fairness.
I would say in this case, many, many, many people would see this as unfair.
I agree. I can't disagree with that.
For his part, Marty Stroud says Glenn Ford deserves every penny owed him. He went to see Ford to apologize.
How do you apologize to someone for taking 30 years of his life from him?
Well, there's no books you can read to do that. I just went in and apologized.
Do you forgive him?
No. He didn't only take from me, he took from my whole family.
So it sounds like you don't think you could ever forgive him.
Well, I don't. But I'm still trying, though.
Do you think you deserve his forgiveness?
No. If somebody had done that to me, I don't know if I could forgive them.
You say you destroyed his life. Sounds like this incident destroyed your life, too.
I've got a hole in me through which the north wind blows. It's a sense of coldness. It's a sense of just disgust. There's just nothing out there that can fill in that hole. It says, oh, it's all right. Well, it's not all right. It's not all right.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on.
3 weeks after we met him, Glenn Ford died, penniless. His final months, he lived off charity. Donations covered the cost of his funeral.
There was a tragic outcome. And these tragic outcomes happen all the time in life. It's not like the Glenn Ford case is the only tragedy you will ever see or I'll ever see in our lifetime. The question is, was there anything illegally done, improperly done, that led to this? And I can comfortably say, based on the review of the record, no, there was not.
In Glenn Ford's will, he directs that any state money he might receive go to his 10 grandchildren so they can have a better chance than he did. And Marty Stroud? He has asked the Louisiana Bar Association to discipline him for his role in the Ford case.
It was a train to injustice, and I was the engineer. Glenn Ford will be a part of me until the day I die.
Hardly a day goes by when we don't receive a letter from someone in prison who claims he didn't do it and doesn't belong there. Most of the time, it turns out he probably did do it and does belong there. But once in a while, we hear about a case like the one that called our attention to 2 men in Louisiana who may have been wrongfully convicted and sent to prison for a robbery and murder 22 years ago. Were they? You decide.
22 years and I'm still in here, and I still don't know when I'm going home, if I'm ever going home.
22 years and still gone. We refuse to give up.
22 years ago, Harry Granger was working in construction. David Alexander was working as a taxi driver. Back in 1976, both were accused of being part of a group that robbed and murdered Louis Gladu in his convenience store in New Iberia, Louisiana.
Mr. Gladu was laying in front of the service counter, and he had...
Today, Steve Woodring heads the armed robbery division of the Baton Rouge Police Department. But 22 years ago, he was a young and admittedly inexperienced sheriff's deputy in New Iberia working on his first murder case.
What was the strongest evidence that the sheriff's department had?
We had virtually nothing. We had nothing.
No real suspects at the top of the list?
No, sir.
Until this woman appeared. Her name is Mary Arsenault. 22 years ago, Arsenault was a convicted criminal out on parole with a charge pending against her. 6 days after the murder, she voluntarily told a friend and the police that she took part in the crime, could identify some of the robbers, and could take the police to a place called Cypress Island, where she said the guns were buried.
What was your impression of her credibility?
When she took us out to Cypress Island, and the guns were not buried there after all, and then she admitted that evening that she had made that up, that was very disturbing.
It may have been disturbing, but Arsenault was their first big break, and the sheriff's department believed her. According to Arsenault, in addition to Alexander, Granger, and herself, several more people took part in the robbery, and it was a strange group. For example, some of them didn't know each other, and 2 of the men were mentally retarded. One of the retarded men was Herbert Darawan, who denied that he was involved until he was interrogated.
It went on for hours, and the manner in which the interrogation was done was very suggestive. In other words, Captain Como would provide facts of the case through leading questions, and eventually he came out and he began to parrot back some of the things that Captain Como was telling him.
By the end of the interrogation, Herbert Darawan confessed and became the prosecution's second key witness.
Did you have any concerns about his confession?
At the time, I had very strong concerns.
What was the response to your concern?
I was not taken seriously.
Based on Darawan and Arsenault's information, the prosecution said that 7 people in 2 cars drove to a convenience store called the Hasty Mart. One car, a taxi, parked in front, the other across the road, with Arsenault remaining in it, while the 6 men robbed and killed Louis Gladu. But before they could go to trial, this man, Malcolm Roy, told authorities they had the wrong men.
Not one of them was there.
None of them were involved in this robbery and this murder?
Right.
Malcolm Roy says he knows they were not there because he was. We talked to him at a prison in Louisiana where he's serving time for burglary and possession of cocaine.
You were involved in it?
Yes, I drove the car.
According to Roy, on the day of the murder, he drove to the Hasty Mart and waited in the car while 2 friends went inside. He says they came out excited and bloody.
I asked him what happened, you know. because I seen blood on the gun. And so Preston said that he killed the bitch.
What's your reaction when they pick up these other guys for the murder?
Well, I'm stung, I don't know why they picked them up, because these guys didn't do this.
Malcolm Roy confessed to the Hasty Mart robbery after he was implicated by one of his friends who had already confessed and led police to this gun, which ballistics tests proved was the gun that killed Louis Gladu. But the sheriff's department didn't believe them and said they had evidence that Roy and his friend were lying. Later, both claimed they had been offered a bribe to lie and took their confessions back.
Here I'm confessing to a armed robbery and murder, and then you're telling me that I'm lying, and...
Do you think that they didn't believe you, or that they believed you but didn't want to hear what you had to say?
They believed me but didn't want to hear what I had to say.
You don't have any doubts about that?
Right, they knew. They framed those guys. They knew what they was doing.
Roy confessed again at David Alexander and Harry Granger's trial, which took place in this courtroom. But the jury didn't believe him. Instead, they believed Mary Arsenault and Herbert Darawan, who both testified with immunity. After a two-day trial, Alexander and Granger were convicted of armed robbery and sentenced to 99 years. That's what convinced the remaining two defendants, Ronald Miller and John Nelson Collins, to plead guilty in exchange for a lesser sentence.
I didn't think I had a chance.
Miller served 20 months in jail, so did Collins. Both have been trying to clear their names ever since.
Mr. Bradley, we wouldn't be here today, sitting here wasting your time and our time if we weren't innocent.
The district attorney told us that he became convinced that the right two men had been convicted after you guys pled guilty.
Quite naturally, the district attorney is going to say that is his ball game. I mean, everybody told the truth, got time. Them who took immunity went home. Remember that, Mary Arsenault and Dale went. Everybody that told the truth done time. Everybody that lied went home. Think about it.
Did either of you know Mary Arsenault? Neither one of you knew her?
No. Well, the first time I saw her, when she walked in the room, I stood up. I said, well, I know I'm going home now because I don't know this lady. So I stood up, I said, look at me. She looked at me, and her head was going like this. She had tears in her eye. And then Horace Como grabbed her, and she went from this to this.
Como was the police captain.
Right. Right. And she went from no to yes.
Woodring says he had doubts about the case and Arsenault's credibility from the beginning. But those doubts were not confirmed until he ran into Arsenault 9 years after the trial. Baton Rouge police were looking for the man responsible for a string of robberies, and Arsenault said she knew who he was. It turned out she was lying.
So I thought to myself, she's done it again. She tried to do it again. But
she identified the wrong man.
She identified the wrong man.
But she series of robberies.
That's right, but she didn't just identify him. She went into great detail.
Did you then make a connection between this in the mid-'80s and what had happened with the shooting of Mr. Gladu at the Hasty Mart?
Absolutely.
So you're feeling now that these guys in there are innocent?
Mr. Bradley, they are absolutely innocent. They were wrongfully convicted, and I'm absolutely certain of what I'm saying.
Do you believe that the Sheriff's Department deliberately, knowingly, built a case against Granger and Alexander?
That's the only explanation. That's the only explanation.
Why?
I think they were under extreme pressure. And I think that they felt like they would be embarrassed if they had to release these guys after they charged them.
It just sort of makes you shake your head here.
The conclusions reached based on the evidence in this case are inexplicable. Anyone that examines this case reaches the same conclusion, except the investigators and the staff of the District Attorney's Office in Iberia Parish.
Bernard Boudreau is the district attorney in Iberia Parish.
I was not the district attorney at the time this case was tried, nor did I try this case. I have no personal interest in this case. I am convinced they're guilty, and I believe that the criminal justice system acted properly.
You're convinced the right men are in jail?
I certainly am.
Boudreau says he's convinced because none of the men had credible alibis. Some failed lie detector tests. Alexander's car was identified as being at the crime scene, and the testimony from Herbert Darawan and Mary Arsenault was corroborated, consistent, and credible.
I don't see anything that could be considered credible about Mary Arsenault.
Since the Hasty Mart murder, Mary Arsenault has been living in Baton Rouge. At first, she was reluctant to talk to us, but she finally agreed.
You said that Harry Granger and David Alexander committed this robbery and this murder.
Yep, I sure did.
I'm asking you today, did they?
No, they didn't.
After all that you've said in the past, why should we believe you today?
Well, I'm telling you.
Just tell me the truth.
Well, I'm telling you the truth.
What is the truth?
They did not kill the people and rob them.
They didn't kill Mr. Gladu?
No, they didn't kill no Gladu.
Did anyone pay you to say that?
All I'm say was bribing.
You got money?
I sure did.
Did Mary Arsenault receive anything in return for providing this information? Was she paid?
No, she was not paid anything. Some charges against her were dismissed in St. Martin Parish.
Did she receive anything for her information?
Yes, she received money from the Sheriff's Department.
She was paid?
She was paid, yes, sir.
What about the charges against you? Were they dropped?
So did.
But you have two men who you're saying are innocent.
Yeah, they innocent.
And they've been in jail for 22 years.
Well, sometime after 22 years, you could free somebody.
Which is exactly what Jim McCloskey wants to happen. McCloskey is the executive director of Centurion Ministries, an organization that investigates cases of alleged wrongful imprisonment.
Very few cases come our way where not only do we become convinced of the complete innocence, but we also become convinced on the complete guilt of the real killers. This is where the Hasty Mart was right here?
This was the Hasty Mart right here.
Centurion Ministries has been investigating the Hasty Mart murder for 2 years. Its goal is to get Alexander and Granger a new trial.
Where are we going?
Their case has already been appealed to the Justice Department and numerous state and federal courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court. So far, every one has been denied.
How difficult will it be to get Alexander and Granger a new trial?
In the interest of justice, we believe that some court in Louisiana will reassess original positions and take a look at this and see it for what it is, which is one of the worst miscarriages of justice I've seen anywhere in the 17 years I've been doing this work.
I am not about to say that there has never been a miscarriage of justice in the United States or in the state of Louisiana, but in this case, there has been no miscarriage of justice.
You think race played a role in any of this?
I think probably at that time there was a feeling that pervaded much of the law enforcement community. And I'm just going to be plain spoken here. These were two young black men. If they didn't do that, they probably did something else. And what have we lost if they're not the right guys?
And if 5, 6 years down the road, you're still sitting here in Baton Rouge and they're still sitting in Angola prison?
If that happens, I will continue at every opportunity to profess their innocence. These people were wrongfully convicted. There is absolutely no doubt about it.
"17 years ago, we reported on a woman named Jennifer Thompson, a rape victim who was devastated to learn years after her assault that she and the police had identified an innocent man who was convicted and sent to prison while the actual rapist had gone on to attack several more women. It's not an uncommon story in this era of DNA exonerations, and Jennifer Thompson has tried for years to do something about it. Thompson knows firsthand that wrongful convictions scar not just the unjustly convicted, but also the original crime victims who are often overlooked. So, as we first reported in 2024, she's doing something no one else has tried, and perhaps only she could pull off, bringing together crime victims and innocent men from different cases for what she calls healing justice.
What I'm going to ask you to do is turn your bowl upside down.
What we saw on day one of a multi-day group retreat Jennifer Thompson is leading sure didn't look like healing. 10 men and women, plus an observer,
Nice job, Lesley.
smashing bowls with a hammer.
Nice. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is I'm going to ask you to repair it.
It was quite something to realize that gluing pieces back together at one table were two women who had been raped at the ages of 15 and 12, sitting across from two men who, in unrelated cases, had been wrongfully convicted of sexually assaulting children and had each spent more than 2 decades in prison.
Anyone need a little blob of glue?
At the next table, another woman who survived a sexual assault, sitting beside a man exonerated for rape and murder. And at our table, the partner and daughter of a murder victim. Everyone here part of a case where the wrong man was sent to prison for years and years. You have said that wrongful convictions aren't a single bullet.
Mm-hmm.
You said they're bombs.
Mm-hmm. A wrongful conviction doesn't hurt like a person. It's not just Raymond Tower got hurt. Like his whole family got shrapnel. And the victims got shrapnel. And the community received shrapnel because a child molester was still in the community. There's just so many people in a wrongful conviction case. I think it's hundreds of people for every single wrongful conviction case that are hurt.
Jennifer Thompson was one of them. She was a college student in 1984 when a man broke into her off-campus apartment and raped her at knife point. Jennifer worked with police to create a composite sketch, then identified a man named Ronald Cotton in the photo and physical lineups police showed her. Jennifer testified in court against Ronald Cotton and was relieved when he received a life sentence. But after 11 years in prison, DNA testing proved Cotton's innocence and identified the actual rapist, whose photo had not been in the lineup. Ronald Cotton was exonerated, and Jennifer was racked with guilt, as she told us in 2009.
Shame? Shame. Terrible shame. Suffocating, debilitating shame.
Jennifer turned that shame into action. She apologized to Ronald Cotton in person and then started speaking around the country to police and prosecutors, sometimes together with Cotton, about how to make wrongful convictions less likely. But over the years, as exonerations of the innocent have multiplied,
finally we're free.
With more than 3,800 freed so far, I'm free! Based on new evidence, including DNA, Jennifer began focusing in on what was being overlooked. What do you think most people feel and see when they see an innocent man come out of prison?
It's the day that that man or woman who's wrongfully incarcerated and their families are rejoicing.
I know you didn't do it. I know.
It's the day they've been dreaming about. They've prayed for it. They're on the court steps and their arms are raised high, and it's a day of celebration. But for the crime victims, for the murder victim family members, they're sitting back here saying, hey, hold up a second. This is another nightmare on top of a nightmare. The victims have been forgotten.
Victims, she says, like Tamisha Carrington Artis, who was 12 years old when a man broke into her bedroom and raped her.
He grabbed me by my throat and put a knife to my throat and said if I screamed, he was going to kill me and my mom.
grabbed me from behind, put me in a chokehold, and said,
Penny Burnson, sexually assaulted at age 36 as she went for an afternoon run along the shore of Lake Michigan.
and he said, now I'm going to kill you, now you're going to die.
And Loretta Zillinger White, who was raped at age 15 on the way to school one morning after she'd missed her bus.
It's hard. People expect you to just put it behind you and not think about it again. And they don't realize that it's going to affect you for the rest of your life.
All these women, like Jennifer, had identified a suspect the police showed them, only to learn years later that those men were innocent, and they were gripped by a whole new nightmare.
I felt so bad for him because I felt like I sent this man to prison. That's all I could think about. I got scared. I felt like that he was going to try to come out and kill me. I shut down.
Did people blame you? Oh, absolutely. The first time I went out in public, a friend came up to me and said, I can't believe you're showing your face.
They were saying that I needed to go to prison.
That you needed to go?
Yes. That I intentionally sent the wrong man to prison.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. Memory experts have long understood how crime victims can get it wrong. In our earlier story about Jennifer's case, Professor Gary Wells showed us a simulated crime scene and then a lineup.
Now, you know now, after we've talked, probably not to pick anyone.
No, actually, I actually know who it is because if I had come upon that, I think it's this guy. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Yeah,
I'm wrong?
Yeah, it's none of them.
Studies have shown again and again when the actual perpetrator is not in the lineup, witnesses often pick the wrong man, who then comes to replace the original offender in their memory of the crime. In Jennifer's case, and Tamisha and Penny's, the real perpetrators, revealed by DNA years later, had not been in the original lineups.
20 years later, when they come to me and say, by the way,
I can't imagine.
the person who raped you never went to prison. And the person we thought is innocent. See ya. And oh, by the way, it's all your fault. It's not the system's fault. I mean, here was my narrative. Rape victim falsely accuses an innocent man and sends him to prison. Everything's wrong with that, because a false accusation denotes a lie.
Deliberate.
Why would a crime survivor, why would a victim want the wrong person to go to prison? That doesn't make any sense at all.
You know, when you hear what you're saying, then we get it, but we don't hear it. As you said, there's a blazing headline, man is freed, person who fingered him got it wrong. That's it.
And the system now doesn't get held accountable for how it failed me, and it failed my family, and it failed the innocent person, and it failed the innocent person's family, and it failed everybody.
That failure, Jennifer told us, is also devastating for families of murder victims, even when they played no role themselves in identifying the wrongfully convicted person. That's what happened to Andrea Harrison and her father, Dwayne Jones. Andrea's mother, Jacqueline, was raped and murdered in 1987 when Andrea was just 3 years old.
It was one of the most horrendous crimes. She was brutally raped, tortured. Someone found her body walking their dog.
A local man named Larry Peterson spent more than 17 years in prison for the crime before DNA testing proved his innocence, and he was released. Did you know that he was going to be released? Did they tell you?
No.
No.
For many, many years, someone was tried, convicted, and put away.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you find out that the DNA doesn't match.
I mean, you go back into flight or flight.
Yeah.
You got scared.
Absolutely.
Absolutely we did.
Can you tell us of what?
Who the person, who hurt my mother? What happened to Jackie? Who did it? Whoever that person is, they're still out there.
But since Larry Peterson's exoneration, with the case now cold, they feel the original crime and victim have become an afterthought.
It's always been, what do you think about Mr. Peterson? That is not my charge. I care about Jackie. I'm worried about Jackie. What about Jackie?
But even while victims and their families are left reeling in the wake of wrongful convictions, Jennifer knows from her friendship with Ronald Cotton and her work with other exonerees that heady, blissful first day of freedom is just the start of a tough, years-long struggle to rebuild.
Only freedom.
Raymond Towler, exonerated after 29 years in prison, 29 years, plays in a band with other exonerees and says he struggles with the lingering stigma and hurt of being charged with such a heinous crime. Tell us, if it's not too painful, what the crime was.
It's painful.
I know.
I'm laughing over it, but it is painful. But it was rape of 11 and 12-year-old kids.
When DNA testing finally proved Towler's innocence and won his freedom, he says it was thrilling, but also daunting. The adjustment was difficult.
Yeah. I couldn't even really go out the door by myself.
You don't feel like you fit in anywhere. At least I did.
Exoneree stories are often filled with egregious police and prosecutorial misconduct. In Chris Ochoa's case, abusive interrogations that led to a false confession to rape and murder. For Howard Dudley, evidence withheld by prosecutors that likely would have cleared him of child sexual abuse, for which he served more than 23 years.
I always dream of being there with my kids, see the football game, see them on the basketball court. Didn't get a chance to see none of that.
So I would like for everybody to introduce themselves.
So Jennifer came up with a novel idea.
So I am Jennifer Thompson. I am a victim survivor.
My name is Raymond Towler. I'm an exoneree.
My name is Loretta.
She started an organization called Healing Justice that brings together exonerees.
My name is Chris.
I'm an exoneree.
And crime victims.
My name is Penny.
All from different cases.
I am Tamisha.
As well as family members.
My brother was an exoneree.
My name is Andrea.
Healing Justice paid to bring them from around the country to this rented retreat center in Virginia, where they will spend 3 days sharing stories, playing games, and eating all their meals together. This is the 17th retreat Healing Justice has done. How effective is it when it's not the same crime?
Very effective. There's something powerful and healing when an exoneree can hear what the victim in their case must have felt like. And for crime survivors, it's really healing to also hear about the experiences of exonerees.
The biggest thing I lost was trust.
3 days of emotional release, rebuilding trust, and healing when we come back. Jennifer Thompson's goal when she created the nonprofit organization Healing Justice in 2015 was to help all groups harmed by wrongful convictions. Healing Justice now advises prosecutors' offices around the country on dealing more effectively and empathetically with crime victims in exoneration cases. But it's what they call the healing side of their work that is most meaningful to Jennifer. She did coursework in trauma recovery and worked with psychologists to design a program to safely bring together victims of crime and exonerees. They work in small groups on the wounds left behind when the justice system gets it wrong.
Nice.
Remember the breaking and gluing back together of those bowls?
Did anybody notice how fast and easy it was to break it and how hard it is to put it back together again?
That was just the start of this retreat's opening exercise, and perhaps a metaphor for the whole endeavor.
So what I'm going to ask you to do now is to paint your broken places with gold. This is actually 24 karat gold paint.
She told us it's called kintsugi. Kintsugi.
Kintsugi.
What is that?
It's the Japanese concept that even in our broken places, we're still beautiful because we're strong at our broken places and we're not disposable.
But before they can paint their real wounds with gold, they have to look hard at the breaks that need repair.
That I lost part of my heart.
So, sitting in a circle, using a rock to give whoever holds it the floor, and with a healing justice social worker always present, they talked about their losses.
I lost believing in myself. I had so much confidence. I had so much.
That first, slamming the doors, everything got real right then. I seen people suicide, death by cop, just getting beat up, killed. It all comes back. And I have to keep reminding myself, right here, I'm in the present right now.
The hardest part for me is hearing what the exonerees went through in prison. It's so hard to hear, but it's so necessary.
So what I want to do today is do an
On day 2 of the retreat, Jennifer led an exercise on how the harsh words used against each of them end up becoming internalized.
You might have been called a liar. You might have been called a rapist. And those words really do take on a life of their own. I'd like for you to write a letter to yourself from the space of the critical mind, that loop that plays in your head over and over again.
You had them write letters. What was the purpose?
I've done this before. When they're writing it, they're not happy. And then I had them read it out loud to the circle. They didn't like it.
Dear Chris, you failed in life. Why did you confess? I would never have confessed.
Why can't you just be quiet?
Dear Raymond, you are an angry black man. You will never know love. You will always be a prisoner.
And then there was Loretta's.
Dear Loretta, you deserve to be raped and beaten. You really don't deserve to be alive. You aren't brave nor strong. You are a failure as a woman and a mother.
Loretta, Jennifer told us, faces one of the most excruciating situations for a victim in an exoneration case, when the DNA clears one man, but doesn't identify who the actual assailant was.
I'm stuck.
She told us she relives the assault daily and can't get the exonerated man's face out of her memory.
So even though he was cleared through DNA, his face is still there.
Yes. The DNA said it wasn't him.
You didn't believe it.
No. I feel guilty. Because I feel like I did something wrong.
So you're having both the feeling that he was the one and that you did something wrong.
Yes.
Oh my God, you really are stuck.
I don't know who did this.
For Andrea Harrison, whose mother's killer also remains unknown, it's a familiar struggle.
What was told to me was that he was the person who murdered my mother. And so that was a belief of mine for a lot of years. I can't get that out of my head.
On his side of it, I mean, that's sad.
It is sad.
It is sad.
The justice system failed him just like it did us.
Until now, Andrea and her father had not been willing to attend a retreat with exonerees present.
Do you think that the exonerated person and the victim are almost pitted against each other when they shouldn't be? They're both victims of the same perpetrator who knows someone sitting in jail for what he or she did.
That's right. At the end of the day, when an innocent person's in prison, a guilty person's not. We should all be concerned about that.
And maybe they go off and do it many more times.
In my case, the person who wasn't caught committed 6 more first-degree rapes before he was ever apprehended.
I just love that we're here working on this.
In the circle, after reading the critical letters, Jennifer turned the tables.
So I want you to write a second letter now to yourself from the self-compassion voice, the voice that you would use for the person you love the most. So they rewrote it
They did? They turned
And they,
it?
oh yeah, and then they read that out loud in their faces. They smiled when they read it.
Dear Raymond, you have a kind heart. You are loved. Raymond, your dreams have come true, and you are free to dream more and create.
You are a great mother, grandmother, wife, daughter, sister, friend, and so on and on. Keep going, you got this.
I've seen you stumble, and I've seen you bounce right back.
Dear Loretta, you know that it's never too late to follow your dreams. You should never stop believing in yourself. You didn't deserve to be hurt by anyone or anything. I will always be your biggest fan and supporter. I love you.
Well, that was different. So why is it that we speak to ourselves in a way that we would never speak to the people that we love?
Something I need to change, is that it was actually harder to write the happy letter for me. I do believe the good things about myself, but I don't think I really say them to myself enough.
And the reality is, if we really want to do good in the world, hating ourselves serves nobody at all. Who's ready?
After 2 emotion-filled days came a scene we weren't expecting.
Catch it!
The group gathered together for improv games,
Ribbit, ribbit.
acting like animals, smiling and laughing.
You play a lot of games?
Well, the games are just really a way of inviting that child to come back and play again. If you feel safe, you can pretend like you're a monkey. You can do all kinds of ridiculous things, and it's okay because everybody else is doing it too.
I know, but don't you feel guilty. You do.
We noticed a loosening and connecting. Later that night, over an art project, the kind of impromptu conversation Jennifer says this retreat is all about.
How can somebody look at me and think that I would do something so heinous like that? That's part of the trauma for me.
When you hear some of our stories, do you ever, blame us?
Like me
By-
being an exoneree and
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself blaming the victims for...
you didn't do anything wrong. It's not your fault.
The next morning, as they gathered in the circle for the 3rd and final day,
I feel blessed.
I feel light as a feather.
the mood had shifted dramatically.
I feel open.
I feel courageous.
I feel nurtured, even though it's painful to let it out. I think you guys do it because you know it's going to help the next person.
Yeah.
And it has.
So how did the retreat go?
Very enlightening, very powerful.
We took off the mask that everybody
Yes.
sees.
What questions did you ask each other, exonerees to crime victims and back around?
I asked what happened to you.
And everyone was honest.
And everybody was honest. I asked right away, I shook Mr. Howard's hand. And I feel for this man and my other 2 friends back there that are exonerees. I see it now because we only looked from our side of the table. We never seen it from their side.
I had that fear. Even when I came here, I didn't know if I would be coming into hate because I was exoneree. Because, nobody believed me for, 30 years.
I think we believe it.
Thank you.
I had questions myself for an exoneree, and I was able to build up the courage to even ask Raymond because I still hold this guilt, and I was finally able to let it go after talking to him. I knew he was speaking from his heart, and it took 30 years for him to let me get that guilt off of me.
Wow.
I thank you. May you keep spreading your love to everyone that needs it.
So as the retreat drew to a close, they clasped hands and shared wishes for one another.
Penny, may you continue on your journey of healing.
What happened in your case that allowed you to heal?
I think I'll always be healing
But I think what has helped me more than anything is the relationships I built along the way with people that have been harmed and hurt just like me.
Because you're helping other people.
Jennifer, may you always be in our lives, and may you always be courageous as you are.
I'm helping other people, but what they don't realize is they're also helping me.
I didn't know that move.
They're healing.
They are healing, and I want to walk with them on that journey. Woo-wee!
A bit of good news. 3 of the exonerees have gotten married since our story first aired. Congratulations to Howard Dudley, Chris Ochoa, and Raymond Towler.